just be the resource for somebody. How-to content guide. If you go to almost any channel besides like Mr. Beast or something, if you search their most popular, it's some type of guide. It don't matter how dumb or corny it is. There's like how to wash a dog or something. It'll have more views than anybody else or in the other videos. So those are like easy pieces of content. If you know your niche, and just make those, just think of every problem someone has. Make 10 of them or something. I guarantee you're going to get views on a couple of those.
Because people are looking for, a lot of times on YouTube, they are trying to learn this skill, or I'm trying to, like for me, install a baby car seat, like whatever those things are. There's a lot of like how-to content on YouTube because it's that walkthrough, it's the teacher with the visual, something, no matter how basic it is. I'm here with Jeff Parker, a YouTube marketing consultant, newsletter creator, and a community mentor for aspiring creator entrepreneurs. I'm so happy to have you here. We actually met through Twitter, and it's an amazing experience to be able to chat with you about YouTube and get to know you a little better off the interwebs. But I'm going to start off with a couple warm-up questions. That work for you?
Yep, go for it.
Awesome. For a lot of creator entrepreneurs, we're usually diving into something, learning something new, reading something. I just wanted to see, what are you digging into right now?
So first, let's start off with a book. I want to show it to you because I'm slightly playing.
Yes, I love a visual. We're on YouTube. We need a visual.
Yeah, right. You need a visual. So you're not I talk about marketing, so I'm not surprised that the one-page marketing plan. I read this probably more times than I should, but because I'm learning, and I'm supposed to. But it basically just explains marketing like the most simple way possible. So like I always go back through it and just find like bits and pieces as far as like learning. Always go back.
I'm pretty sure I have that in my library, and it was years ago that I read it. I need to return to it because I remember it being good, but it's like with any of these, a lot of the business books, if you're not returning to it and like putting it into action, it goes nowhere. So I'm sure I took like a nugget from it like years ago, but thank you for the reminder because I'm going to dig back into it. Who's the author on that one?
Alan Dibb.
What are you picking up on this time around? Because I know sometimes with the context of what you're working on, things change, or maybe the clients that you're working with. What are you seeing that you're picking up more of on this time?
So definitely the first time. I feel like this with any book, you read it or you listen to. I have the Audible version too. I literally have it. So like you listen to it and it doesn't it means nothing to you. You're just kind of, that sounds cool. I should start an email list. You just kind of, you don't even, it means too much. Right.
Right. You're just absorbing the initial information.
Yeah. And then the second time you start like, oh, okay, this part where it says, what's your unique selling position? You're like, oh, that actually matters. Like this part actually matters. And you start to like, okay, I need to take different parts seriously. You don't really act on it. And the second time you're like, okay, I want to take one part from it and actually do the thing. I think that's something I've seen just from reading different books.
Sometimes you need to reread the books, especially if you're working with clients. Like sometimes, like I've noticed this with people that I've talked to that are in personal branding or in design. Sometimes you need to reread it for yourself too, because you're like, wait, I'm applying all these things for my clients, but like I need that prompts back to myself to say, hey, what do I need to do now? Because sometimes it's hard to do that for yourself, right?
Well, I need to make sure I'm doing this too, right? Or I need to make sure I'm setting the example. You know what I mean? I never update my. Like it's like changing your bio on Twitter or something. You change it like 6 months too late sometimes. And you're like, oh, geez, I'm not even talking. I need to be relevant again. I need to change this.
So right now you're digging into just kind of going back to basics on the marketing aspect, reading that book. Is there anything else that you've been learning about more so? Or are you just like all in on the simplicity of like the marketing aspect?
I'd say there's like two. There's like the entrepreneur Jeff, and there's the like, I don't want to be an entrepreneur. Like I don't want to focus on it sometimes. So like I'll spend I read a lot of, I don't know if this is, I read a lot of like serial killer books.
Oh, I love that.
Or so I read a lot of
I love a dark. So I've been
yeah, I'm
reading,
like,
yeah,
oh,
some
sure.
very. I
So
like horror. Like I don't know. I'm not
yeah,
necessarily like a horror fan in film always. I like thrillers, but yeah, I love some dark
yeah,
reads.
some like, it's like the taboo thing. So that's like
Yeah,
the non-entrepreneur Jeff who just wants to relax, put in some earbuds and just,
yeah, relax
read
and
about,
talk
there's
about
different,
murder, like brutal
yeah,
murder.
like,
I mean, I feel like that whole podcast. I'm sure it is with like
oh,
YouTube too. I just don't know as much, but like I would imagine it's huge on there too. But there's just something just I don't know, just like tickles the brain because it's like kind
yeah.
of wrong, but then you're also like in a murder mystery, but real life digging in and like looking at all the data
I
from the
mean, yeah,
past. It's
started
wild.
Googling it
Yeah.
and stuff. It's so weird. That's why I'm like, do I say that? Because everybody listens and watches this type of stuff, but it's, it's like Jeff listens to serial killers. Like, whoa, it can be,
We gotta be open and authentic. You know what? You
yeah,
might have your crowd of people who are like secret serial killer listeners, but they're just like
yeah,
sweethearts. You know what I mean?
yeah,
You gotta have your dark edge. You have to have the
yeah.
dichotomy, right?
I agree.
I love that. Well, I'm gonna pull a card. If you've been watching now, a few episodes have come out since I've been doing this. But I do have a little card that I've pre-picked a few. I'm just going to pick one. There's a little spontaneity, see how it leads into the conversation. Oh, actually, this is a good one. I feel like you might have tweeted about this recently,
Oh,
and you
this
kind of
one's
just
good.
alluded to it. How do you create boundaries with social media? Because you work in it too. So I'm
Yeah,
curious to see like, or is it a challenge?
I'd say because I have a love hate with social media. Just say Twitter. I made this thing called like a Twitter manifesto, and it was just like thing like I'm gonna tweet twice a day or something. The weekends don't count because I get into like the growth. Like there's the growth mode, Jeff, where I'm like,
Mhm.
these two tweets need to perform in my mind. Right? No one else
Right.
probably cares in my mind. I want these two tweets to perform. Um, like and then on the weekends, I'm still trying to whatever sell or make this type of thing. So I had to like I just need to relax sometimes and
Mhm.
not um, always be on the go and just like let things because sometimes like it's when you want something sometimes when you won't get
Mhm.
it but when you're just like I'm going to tweet I'm helping people and someone will DM you and be like oh hey Jeff how much does this cost or something like oh okay well I didn't even or I'm too busy I can't even take clients but my mind is like getting one another
Right.
client like I don't even have time what am I even doing like just relax Jeff like what like that's where I'm like
You're trying to like engineer it a bit because I'm sure like as any entrepreneur you're trying to optimize. You're trying to like make sure that
yeah
there's
that's a good way to
impact. You
put
don't
it
want to waste your time, right? But it's not always good for the brain to be thinking like especially with social media. You're at the mercy of the algorithm because it is what it is, but there's
yeah
also just like other humans on the other end and just depending on the day, somebody may like mass like a bunch of tweets or respond to a bunch and then there's some days where they just are doom scrolling and they may love what you said and will remember that forever, but they will never engage with you
yeah
until like they send you a DM and say, I want to buy.
yeah like 2 months later
So
so it's
it's
hard
one of
to
those things. So do you find that you need to like create more boundaries around Twitter specifically? Or how do you feel about like YouTube versus Twitter since you're working with like YouTubers quite a bit?
yeah I think it's knowing like when to I think sometimes a lot of people need to like take a step back or something and like take 2 days off or like with Twitter
Mhm.
I'll like tomorrow today's more like business day tomorrow I mean because stuff's already scheduled like I don't care nothing
You have the boundary of like,
yeah
I'm going to keep, if there's some DMs, like I can get to
wait
them later and it'll
yeah
all be okay. As opposed to, some people, including myself, sometimes I have the propensity to be like, I get something and I'm like, okay, I got to answer right away. Just email, DM, whatever it might be, which is unhealthy.
you
So,
know
how did you start as a YouTuber? Like, how did you get into the YouTube realm in general? Is it
I
just
think
interest or did you start making things? How did you get into that realm?
I feel like everybody one has a YouTube channel where they say it or not. Like it's some hidden channel. They made some. I had some. I used to be in bugs and stuff when I was younger. So there's some random bug videos that are private that was probably uploaded at some point that are like so everybody. I feel like everybody's done that. But I've always liked YouTube or video stuff like that. Then I started like a podcast, and then I learned more about marketing, and
Mhm.
decided like, okay, I need to niche down. Like I just need to go further. Like I just need to
Right.
pick, how am I supposed to sell a product or something to build a business if I'm talking to 8 different people? Because I say like I've been like an entrepreneur for like since from age like 20 to 30. But like
Yeah.
I don't know what I was even doing. I mean, I made some money, but it was just the most random.
It was
There's
just kinda
nothing.
like whatever you were just kind of
Yeah,
experimenting in a whole bunch of different
yeah,
areas. Yeah.
experimenting. Some things work, some things weren't. Then I learned more about marketing.
Mhm.
Like, well, I like YouTube. Let's just talk to YouTubers. Like that's who I talk to now. Other people can learn stuff from it, but that's where I've um, just gone deeper down. It takes so much just to learn to build a product or something for somebody. Um, so like just picking that person, you know what I mean? Like that's just who I picked.
So let me break that down because I honestly think that a lot of people, when they're kind of looking into the area where they would like to specialize more or to, to focus on more, I'll break it down into the pieces. So the
Yeah.
marketing piece. So how did you get into, and then I'll get into YouTube and the YouTube avatar, a person that you would be working with. So marketing, what about marketing drew you in that you felt like this is my thing? Like I want to talk about this. This is where I want to help people. This is where I can serve them. How did you get to marketing specifically?
It'll probably starts with like, I say it like this, and I'm probably saying it like failing so many times, like like having ideas and it would just go nowhere. It makes some amount of money or something, but just failing. And then I didn't know
Mhm.
marketing was the answer. I'm just online like everybody else.
Yeah.
How to build a business or how to make money. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I saw this guy named Adam Earhart has a YouTube channel and everything. I bought his marketing, a very basic marketing course, just like who you talking to, very basic stuff. And then I just went deeper down. So I'm like, this is the answer. This is what has made me more money, just to know where I'm going. And
Mhm.
before I didn't know that. So to me, it's like this. I tell people like change my life because I just know what I'm doing now. Before,
Right. There's the clarity.
wow,
And do you like being able to kind of imagine that person that you're speaking to and communicate the message, either your own or other people's? Is that like kind of the passion behind it? It's like you want to get inside their head and be able to speak directly to that.
man, it's like you can change. I mean, it's all sound like change your life with marketing, but like it's true though, because like
Hey, I mean, no,
it,
seriously,
it's
there's all
true.
aspects of that like venture process that like I'm obsessed with the innovation and venture process, and marketing is a huge piece of like the experiential part of how you bring ideas into the world. And it's key because for someone to react to it, to give you feedback, they need to have that communication. And a lot of people fail there. So what about let's start with the person. So a YouTuber, what is like so attractive about YouTubers, that kind of creator versus other types where you're like, I know I can speak to that. I know I can speak to their audiences.
I think it's just going deeper down. Okay, so here's like a changing point of when I was on Twitter, because I
Yeah.
remember it. I can remember this every day because it felt like terrible when it happened. So, because before I talk about different things, Instagram's kind of, I don't know, growing on video.
Mhm.
I didn't
Mhm.
have a niche. I was just kind of, how to. I don't know if I even knew marketing that much yet. But
Right.
again, I spent 10 years being an entrepreneur, learning things, failing things. So I was just giving advice at first. So I
Yeah.
found and I DM'd somebody. I'm like, hey, what do you think of my Twitter profile? And like how I'm helping people, right? And she's a nice person. And I can't remember her name now. It sounds terrible. And I was like, hey, what do you think of my Twitter profile? Like, is it helping people? She's like, oh, it's really good, Jeff. You're helping people, whatnot. But it's not for me. I don't know who you're talking to or anything. And I remember it's like 3 a.m. I don't know why I'm up at 3 a.m. I remember reading that message, thinking like, I need to fix this. Like, this is it.
Yeah.
I spent 10 years screwing around, in my opinion, like in my mind, just not really going anywhere. Like, this is it. This is where I'm going to fix this thing. And
Yeah.
that's when it changed.
And then when you're choosing, how did that process go? Like, so you were saying, okay, I want to look for YouTubers. How is that ideal for you? Like as far as them or their audiences?
Yeah, because I think it was just video creators. I just said
So
video
video
create.
creators in general.
Yeah. And that's when I
Yeah.
started like, well, I'm already talking to people on like I had more YouTubers who were following me to begin with. I think that's was the
Yeah.
big thing. There's just more people when you say video creators on Twitter. I don't know. There's a lot of YouTubers who are on Twitter
Yeah.
versus Instagram people. That's
Yeah,
just
that makes
what I
sense.
saw. So then it's like, okay, wow, this tweet did pretty good because and it was scary. Like now I'm like, oh my God, Jeff, this ain't like not a big deal, but like, just changing my bio. It's like I'm helping YouTubers was like scary at the time.
Yeah.
It felt
'Cause it's
scary.
like the commitment to like a
Yeah, the
very
commitment.
specific. Yeah, of course. That's the difficulty sometimes when people, know that they need to take that next step and focus into a space because they're seeing the response there. It feels like it's gonna last forever, but it doesn't.
I know.
You
Yeah,
know, or like if something ever
of course.
changed, like you couldn't change that. When I see people pivot all the time
All the
and,
time. They
just
just change
depends,
it.
it's okay. You
Yeah,
just have to be able to communicate that in a way that makes sense.
yeah.
So what are some of the things that they typically like need in the marketing space where you were like, okay, I could totally step up and help in this particular area?
I think the biggest thing is like the majority is most people don't have the specific enough niche, I guess. Like the ideas are too big. That I want to
Yeah.
have a hiking channel and like a vlog or something. And that's usually
Yeah.
too like it's too hard. Like to pick the one niche, like the one who do you want to talk to, like 10 words or less. YouTubers who want to quit their 9 to 5 job or something. I don't know. Like you're just really snappy like that. People who
Yeah.
have an urban homestead. They want to make their own food, like really snappy like that. And that part can be very hard because
Hmm.
they want to be the show. A lot of times, like you don't become the show of your YouTube channel until later on after you got those fans. You almost have
Right.
to start with the idea, the niche first, and
Yeah.
then you become the show. Then you get those fans. But
Right.
sometimes they start with the fan part first when they should start with the delivering whatever your niche is, whatever the concept of your content's going to be about. That's been like the hardest part sometimes.
Yeah, I know I've had difficulty within myself, but I've kind of started to realize that there's like a separation between like your own personal brand and how you live in these different spaces and starting to talk about your products. Like I've started even just for example on Instagram like separating out the things that I'm working on from myself. So my personal profile may cover that just kind of entrepreneurial stuff, but then like the actual projects themselves, they sit by themselves, they have their own audience. I'm specifically talking to them and it's something that I had to learn. And I would imagine, especially like with the YouTube channel too, in the experience of going to YouTube, you need to go and you have to know what it's not, you're just going to go watch someone all day, especially in long form. I mean, my God, it's like, I don't know if there's anyone where I would just be like, let me just watch their life all day. If I can do that,
Yeah.
on Instagram and their stories or something, right? So you want like specifics of like, I know I'm going to come here and learn about this, or I'm going to come here and take a break and relax and, watch this type of a video. It's going to have this sort of experience for me that I can get into. So thinking of it more as this is like a product of yours and you should treat it as if it is something that, maybe can do not necessarily almost live on its own. You're still a valuable part, but like it's for the other person. It's not for
Yeah.
your,
That's hard. That's,
your platform to just be like, hey, it's the me
yeah.
show.
That's hard. That's like the
um,
hardest part sometimes because you're
and
not
it's
trying to
tough
be,
because you're on camera. It's
yeah.
like a performance, right? In a
Yeah.
way for some people. So like the YouTube platform in and of itself, I know that you were saying that you just enjoyed YouTube, but what about it like as a social media platform do you like as compared to I know that there's not many things to compare it to because it is longer form, but like as opposed to blogs or as opposed to writing platforms or even some of the social media ones that they do have some long form, right? Some of them like Instagram you could put long
Yeah.
form
Yeah.
videos. Do you really like that you like to work along with? Because I feel like it has unique aspects in the marketing space.
I think the long form, like building, like that's how you do become like build fans, like seeing someone's face. Like I can remember
Mhm.
a blog. It's called a fitness routine or something, right? Really like really high end like information, really good stuff for beginners and everything. My first thought every time is like, I don't know why. I'm like, what is this guy? Not what he look like. Like I want to see him. I want to see his face. I want to know
Right.
who I'm talking to. Like the content's good. He's making money. I want to like connect more. Literally, I mean, that's what I'm searching. Like this is good information, but what do you, what's not what you look like, but what, I just want to see you. Like, I want to, like, that's the first thing I did. I don't know why, but it's just, so I think it's more like you can build your brand.
Right.
Cause you can, there's different people like different things. Like sometimes I listen to a lot of podcasts sometimes. But then there's times where like, I want the video, I want the person explaining it. Like I want to see them. I mean, I don't know how, like communication. I just want to see someone tell me a story versus like a faceless channel versus like,
Right.
I would
Yeah, and
say
there are
person.
so many
It's
faceless
different. Yeah.
channels now, especially with like AI and everything
Yeah.
too. But I know there's a lot of faceless channels. What are your feelings on those? Is it just, do you feel like they're just kind of, it's just like, why not just do a blog? I what
Yeah.
is, how are, I mean, I know a few of them are doing okay, but like, is there a use case for that or not really?
I think so. I work with a client. His name's Andy. I'm trying not to tell too much. His name is Andy, but he does a certain, for a specific niche. And there's a lot of people who don't show their face in it. Like they're just,
Mm,
they just talk over, and it's not bad. They're getting a lot of views and everything.
yeah.
And like the benefit is that you are showing your face. You showing like they're building more of a brand. And then
Hmm.
one day when you're like, I want to open up my Patreon or something, like there's
Right.
more of a connection versus just a voice talking.
Yeah.
Like that, I
Yeah.
think
It
that's
makes
the
sense.
biggest, in my opinion, the biggest difference.
I also think that that's why, I was even really drawn to YouTube again because of they were adding in like the podcast lists and everything. And I wanted to go back to video, but I felt like a lot of people are going back to audio again. And I'm like, wait, but I kind of like the video podcast. And I like the option, like in Spotify, for example, you can listen or you can watch. If you host it correctly, you're able to watch on there if you'd like. But if you don't, fine. Or YouTube, like, you don't have to be staring at the
You don't
screen
have
if you
to.
don't
No,
want to, but sometimes
no,
it's nice to have it up on, like, I've had it in my office before where I'll, like, have
no.
a podcast on and it's just
Yep.
there and it almost feels like company, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's
My
people
wife will do that.
chatting and you're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm here with them." I
Um,
mean, most of the time. So, if you wanna listen, why not kind of just go the extra step, show your face, let people choose to watch or
yeah.
not watch. I know there's been some changes to the platform. Is there anything that like you're particularly excited about? I know there's some different monetization that's coming up. I know there's like new podcast things.
I think I've seen a lot more, and it could just be I'm in the space. Like there's a lot more like people um, getting onto it, saying like YouTube's always growing, but like it's like
Right.
it's getting better compared to like 2010 YouTube or something like compared to that type of like internet in 2000. It's getting better for the creator. Like I don't know if there's any other. I mean, if you ever been on Twitch or like heard the Twitch news, it
Yeah.
feels like they
Yeah. I've done a
take
few streams.
things
I've
from
done a
you.
few streams on Twitch for different things. And
Yeah.
for a while it was promising, but yeah. You can explain more probably than I
No,
can.
Twitch is, I think that it seems like they're always taking things away. I don't, I'm just my
Mm-hmm.
opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You always hear news that are negative about Twitch versus YouTube. They're always like giving back to the creator, whether it's just money or another form of monetization.
Mm-hmm.
Or like to give out, like from a marketing point of view, like them giving out plaques when you hit certain subscribers is
That's
crazy.
so cool.
Like that, like no big business does that unless imagine if you give it to like 1,000 subscribers. Like that's what then you start doing next because that's like
Right.
like everybody wants to get 1,000. It
Right.
costs them money, but it'd be worth it to do that. Like it would just because people love that. So they post it all the time. They're saying, "Oh, too, buddy," be like, "Oh, my first 1,000 views, my first 100 subscribers," and they will tweet that because
Yeah.
they did that thing to get there. It's like
Yeah.
I feel like they care more. It's a business with their
Yeah,
money, but they
I
care
get
more.
that too. And I also feel just now with everything, especially like you see it on most platforms, there's always some drama going on. So there's like this, like for me, I thought it was incredibly suspicious. This was something that, I kind of like I didn't mean to say warn about. I was a little negative on it. Like when they first started paying people for reels, like on Instagram, I was like, this seems like they're going to do a bait and switch here. And, I was like, well, maybe they're actually going to do it, but it just seemed a little
Yeah.
sketchy to me. And I just saw a lot of people start building up and start making a lot of reels, not make a lot of money that was even worth it for the time that they were spending. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, no more paying out and you should pay for a check on Instagram. And there wasn't really much added benefit other than, you know, you get the verification and maybe a little bit better. It's still, I know the
Yeah.
jury's out on it, but there wasn't like a lot of extra things that you were getting for that. And it just kind of disappeared. So these people who were kind of starting to build a little bit there, and, yes, they built audiences, but they were hoping to like monetize more. Maybe Instagram would like up the ante and give
Right.
them even more. It like
Like
did the
YouTube.
opposite. So like I feel like a lot of these platforms are doing things where they're really changing up like the whole model, or they feel like they're supporting creators and they're not. I feel like YouTube has like the least platform risk in my opinion. I don't know what you're saying, but if you had to build, let's say, let's not talk about like newsletters or things that are in your space that you own, like I would imagine that YouTube is probably one of the safer places to build any sort of legacy of
Right. Yeah.
content.
I mean, think of like we've all heard of like I know I don't like me personally know, but people get like banned on TikTok all the time just for
Oh,
I feel like there's so many. Yeah, some people are doing bad stuff sometimes, but like I just the fact that I can just say that like positive, guaranteed. I know people who get banned all the time, but on YouTube it's like they unless you're doing something absurd, like you're completely
like you're really going
yeah,
against
like
like
you're
the
actually
like you have
copying
to understand
someone's
the terms
content.
of service, but
Yeah,
like you got to be real. Yeah, it's a little bit more, or you're not categorizing things correctly for like
yeah,
kids
yeah.
and stuff like that. I just feel like because maybe it's Google owned, something like that, there's like a certain level of like, okay, we got to keep our ish
Sophistication
together,
or something. Yeah, yeah.
on this
Yeah.
platform. We can't let it go down. We can't let it, upset too many people. Even if it's maybe not as like spicy and like, a
Yeah,
flashy
I
some of
think
the
that's a
other
good way to say it. It's
the other
more like the older platform or something, like the Facebook of video I don't know.
Yeah, but
I mean,
Facebook, at least like there's kind of a large range of ages, I feel like on
yeah,
YouTube.
yeah,
You
yeah,
can
yeah.
find people like young people to like older people, and it's like normal. It's not like someone necessarily feels
TikTok
out of place.
race.
They're just
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
showing up in their own space. So what do you think of like like shorts? Are they good to leverage?
I think you should. I don't like personally. I don't like short form content as much. I just
Yeah.
there's just not. I feel like there's only 20% is making like things that like emotional, like real things, and the other 80% is like
Mhm.
dances or something, which are getting attention, but it's not.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's just stuff that's I didn't gain anything from this. Should you do them? You probably should because they do like actually work as far as like hitting a wider range of people. I just wouldn't go to. I wouldn't make a whole channel about shorts or nothing. But like they
Right.
hit
So
a
maybe
wider
it's
range of
like
people.
getting previews from some of your videos and
Yeah,
posting that. It like that would be probably a better use. Or if there were, I guess if you're on another platform and something performed well, it might as if and it relates to your videos that you're putting there. I'm sure it's probably not. It wouldn't hurt to
that's
reuse
yeah.
that or something.
Because there is the positives that there's Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts. You could maybe if you take out the little thing on the bottom right, you take that
Yeah.
if there's like YouTube or TikTok. I mean, because they're all the same. They're short from content, so you can just
Yeah.
post all three. There's other problems if you can keep up with all three, and should you focus on all three? But that's something you could quickly make it one place, post it there, and then you're technically growing on three.
That's really the beauty of long form content anyway, like video content. I mean, man,
Yeah,
you can pull the audio. I mean, if you really wanted to go for it, you could like pull it into Descript, any of these other things, or even some of the AI tools, pull out pieces,
really
reformat them, put
crazy.
it as a blog, put it as it's so much
Yeah,
easier to just record a video and then just pull all the pieces out of it. In my opinion, I feel like there are a lot of people who feel really I know I definitely felt really limited doing a lot of short form content and starting at short form. I started to learn to unless I'm trying to figure out an idea, sometimes maybe I'll go on Twitter and or Instagram in my stories and like pop a few things in just to get a temperature check on something, but I really prefer going from long form to short form. I feel like definitely more efficient, but it's also more me to have like a nice long conversation or a full expressed idea and then pull something out as opposed to just be like, okay, what piece do I like share
one
of that? Like this little
tiny
line that has
little
zero context, you know?
yeah. It's so hard because like the ones that do really good are like Mr. Beast type style where it's you have to scream in the thing. 6 books he wants to buy in next 5 days. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah, you have to be like,
not all
what?
like that, but yeah, you have to, you gotta be moving and, you know.
So YouTube is, I mean, so what would you suggest, like, for if people are on YouTube, what's your favorite space to share either into short form or to get people like a funnel into your YouTube? Do you like Twitter the most? Is there, um, does it really matter? It's really just kind of where you feel like you can build an audience. What do you think about that?
I think as far as like YouTube does actually a really good job at,
Getting people?
yeah, just its own, like delivering the video to the person who wants the video. Um,
Hmm.
like it does a really good job at that. Like it may, you may seem like it if you're not getting views or something, but like it does actually a really good job of just delivering that to there. As far as like social media to YouTube, I think I won't say it's better to like on Twitter, for example, you can put your YouTube link in there or something, but I wouldn't be like, I'm making this Twitter account to get people who are
Hmm.
scrolling on
Yeah.
Twitter who clearly are not watching videos because they'd be on YouTube to begin with, right?
Right. You have to
That-
kind of
that's
like
not the
know
purpose.
that there are a lot of people who may not ever click on your videos,
Yeah.
and that's okay. It's okay that they can stop where they are, or they can go straight to whatever your, like, if you have YouTube videos and then you have like some sort of an offer or product or consulting or something behind it, that they may go straight to that, which is also great, right?
Yeah.
But there's the YouTube is getting a little bit deeper before that, um, in a way that can help. But yeah, that makes sense. And Twitter, it is kind of flexible in that way. And I do think people, when they're scrolling on there, are looking for information more than sometimes on some of the other platforms.
Yeah. Like
They're
Instagram or
like
something.
looking to learn or trying to find something. Um, so on YouTube, I know like the SEO is tends to be a little bit better than maybe on maybe TikTok now. I've seen some decent SEO, but um, what do you, how can you kind of leverage that a bit on YouTube in when you're creating? Like, are there some things you should be doing? Like, I know recently I did I added in, I don't even think I did it fully on purpose. I put timestamps in my description for a podcast and it did the chapters out. I'm sure
Yeah.
that's probably pretty helpful for people. But are there things that you can do? Is it good, good notes in the descriptions? Is it just making sure that you're staying in focused on all your videos so that they start suggesting it correctly? What's kind of a good way to make sure that you're going to be seen sort of by the right people? Because
Yeah,
I
I
know
think
the
great.
keywords are not necessarily quite as
Yeah,
important
they
there.
don't. I think even if you were to go in there and add keyword, it literally says like this is not
I know
important.
it says like this
This
doesn't necessarily, not like
like
it doesn't
it's
matter, but you're like it's kind of there just in case there's
yeah.
confusion or
If
something.
someone I guess is searching that, I don't know. But I think there's two things. I mean, those like, 'cause I mean, it does help. Like the description, like if you got a how to um, wash your dog or something. I don't know. I mean, like having that description that says that. Of course, if you could break it down, because it does show. I don't know if it shows it on your phone as much, like as far as the YouTube app, but like on an actual PC or whatever, it does like break it down. It's like it'll show so you can see. Because I've done that tons of times where I'm like, you just okay, is this video for me? So I think those are like the things that you can do. I
Yeah.
think the easiest, like to me, because I'm like I don't care if I'm just a resource for somebody. Like I don't, everybody's different. Because some people just want to again they want to be the show, you know.
Yeah. Right.
So for me, I don't care. I just want to like just be the resource for somebody. So like how to content like guides, like if you go to almost any channel, like
Hmm.
almost sites like Mr. Beast or something. Um, if you search like their most popular, like if they ever made some type of guide, it don't matter how dumb or corny it is, or like how to wash a dog or something. It'll always be like the most popular. It'll have more views than anybody else, or in the
Yeah.
other videos. So those are like easy pieces of content. If you know your niche,
Yeah.
and like just make those. Just think of every problem someone has. Make 10 of them or something. Like I guarantee you're gonna get views on a couple of those compared to you know
Because
not
people are
doing it.
looking for, a lot of times
Yeah,
on YouTube, they are looking for I'm trying to learn this skill, or
Yeah.
I'm trying to, like, for me, install a baby car seat. Like, whatever those things are. There's a lot of like how to content on YouTube because it's that walkthrough, it's the teacher with the visual, something, no matter how basic it is. That's true. I feel like that's probably been some of the most standard and most widely searched content over time. So it makes sense to have like a few how to's or just breaking something down that probably is like even really easy for you or natural
Yeah.
for you. Someone will probably search it at some point. Like, whatever, how to, or I also think sometimes like I don't know if this is true or not, but sometimes walking through, I know people have like desk setups or like tool stacks or things like that. Sometimes like resource lists, if you can kind of walk through them meaningfully and not just be like, here's this, you can kind of say like, I use this for that,
Yeah.
it's almost like walking through a process, probably can be a helpful one to do as well.
Mm. Like if you wanted to start a podcast and you start searching stuff, you find your person that you like, or say
Yeah.
like how I build my or how I start a podcast from start to end. Like that's not
Yeah.
something people are searching. Like no one's searching how to start the end of a podcast. Like if that video
Yeah.
came out, you're like, I already like this person, and now they're
Right.
showing me what they do. Like this person to me in my eyes is the expert. So when they say that, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to watch this because I want to know what is he doing, because clearly his stuff is working. You know what I mean, he's the
Right.
expert. So it makes
Yeah,
sense.
exactly. Yeah, so walking through an aspect or how to plan for an episode or
Yeah.
how
There you go.
to yeah, well, like some some of the editing tools or an aspect of the editing process, where you can share how you approach it because everybody's going to approach it differently.
Yeah.
And I think most people, especially if they're DIYing a lot of things, especially at first, they're not going to have an editor right away.
Right.
So, okay, so what's the best way or what's the most efficient way that I can edit this myself or in a way where I can do this at first and then hopefully grow enough where I can, hire someone who's an expert at it. But at first, like I'm not just like shooting in the dark, just
Yeah. Yeah.
uploading things willy nilly and, whatever. You can
Yeah.
kind of avoid a few of the
That-
mistakes early
I saw
on.
a video.
Yeah.
I saw this one video about when it was a good like title, and it was a good it was like how to make your $9 lav mic sound like a $400 mic or something. It's so
Wow.
cool because
Yeah.
like a lot of people probably have some little, they have it because that's how they start. But
Right.
how does this sound like a $500? You know what I mean? Like I know it's such a
Yeah.
good idea. Like how to sound better, because we all want how to look better, how to dress. It's like that. How can I look better to somebody? Whether we like that or not, it's a whole other thing. Like that's
Yeah. Well, no, but I think that that's a very human thing, especially when
yeah,
you're new too. A lot of times you have to kind of I don't like the term fake it till you make it because it's not really that. It's not meaning to like scam anybody, but you want to start showing up as what you're growing into.
yeah,
So if there are ways that you can leverage that, and yes, you're a beginner. Yes, you don't have maybe as much money right now. Yes, you don't have this kind of a setup. But if there are ways that you can take a few extra minutes to like polish it up a little bit or add some really nice text on it or add a visual, I mean, it just takes the production level to a whole other space. And it's probably not even that difficult. It's just taking
right,
a little bit of extra
yeah,
time to do it. And just knowing that you can do it and not being too intimidated by it. Like a video intro, stuff like that, where people are like, oh my God, did you get an editor for that? And it's like, no, there's some really cool tools
yeah,
online where you could just build your own. And
yeah,
it's a nice thing that just polishes it up. So it looks like you're treating it professionally as opposed to just, switching on your camera and going like, what's up guys? Like, just here
right,
today
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah. Having the proper
share my
intro and
2 cents,
everything. Yeah,
even if that's what you were doing, you just put something pretty in the beginning so somebody was like, oh, I'm like excited and ready to like
yeah,
focus. um so I know, like, I'm trying to think of some of the things that are often asked because I feel like there are a few people in my circle who are also moving more of their content to YouTube, and they're like experts in their space or they're consultants, whatever. And they just want to leverage it more because they're pretty decent creators, but they've been hanging out on short form, doing things in stories, doing things on, maybe doing some lives here and there. And they're like, I should just be on YouTube. Why am I not just like taking this, knowledge, putting it somewhere? What are some of the other things that are highly underrated that people aren't doing? Is it like putting those few seconds in the beginning to hook somebody in? Is it like a better title? Is it like the thumbnails are total trash and just do better? Like what are a
Yeah,
couple
yeah,
of the things that, are really, I mean, maybe yes, you have to like work them out over time, but like you see are really helpful in the
yeah,
beginning to invest a little time in.
yeah. So here's a good example. We made a video. He made it. So I help him. He does the video part. I do like the packaging, so the title and thumbnail. Um,
Mhm.
and he like he's like, oh, this just he woke up like he's technically at work. He just woke up 10 minutes ago. He recorded this video. He's telling me like this video is gonna be like, terrible. I have zero expectations, but he wants to make a video every week. I'm like, well, let me look around and try to like basically make a good title and thumbnail. This video like did way better than we thought. Like it was his
It's
one out
I've
of
heard
10,
about
like
that for
in
reels too, like, someone will just they'll just be like, "Let me just do that," because of a title or because of
yeah, that's
just
less
the
important.
simplicity of the topic. It just went whoosh, totally viral. They were like, "What?"
Yeah, it was crazy because we just took like a hot topic, I guess, and
Yeah,
like made a like how someone's gonna win this race or something, and we're like, he's not gonna win this race because X, Y, Z. And if you're that person who's a fan, or just think like, what's this person talking about? You have to click into it because
mhm,
you want to know why. So like the title and thumbnail is
right.
really important because you can have a what you think is a bad video, or you think I don't know about this or something, but you can spice it up with the
Yeah,
title and thumbnail because people you can I don't want to say bad, but you can tell like a whatever a quote unquote bad thumbnail because you're learning. It's not bad. It's just you're learning. Then you
yeah,
can open up YouTube and be like, oh, I'm gonna click in this video. Well, look at that video. Look at that thumbnail. Look at yours, and like whether you like it or not, like that's
right.
focusing on the thumbnail because it's just visual. You get on YouTube, it's a picture. It's a picture in your face. Like there's
Yeah,
a picture in your face. You're gonna see that. So focusing on the thumbnail, then the title is like extremely important. Like of course it's YouTube. The video is important, but if you can't get someone to click into it,
right.
then your video is
So
not
what
going to
are I'll break it down. So thumbnail wise,
thumbnail. Okay, so
what are some things that you like to see or that you feel that a lot of people like to
yeah,
see so that'll make them wanna click?
yeah. So I call it like a simple thumbnail. So it's literally like you take one, you always use words. It's like what is going to cause somebody, for example, in the scenario was will Red Bull, which is like this racing team, will Red Bull
Yep.
lose? So it's something that 3 words, will Red Bull lose? Everybody thinks they're
Is
gonna
this
win.
like is this was like an F1 race or something?
It was, yeah.
Okay, I love F1, so
Yeah.
I probably would have clicked on it because I'm like, "Verstappen never
Yeah.
loses." I would like to see, but I
Me
wonder what they're switching over their cars soon. Anyway, funny enough, that's funny. But yes, someone would click because they would be like, "Will Red Bull
You
lose?"
think he's gonna
Probably
win.
not, because 'cause he's been winning a whole lot
Yeah, like
recently,
you
but
think why would he lose? It's like,
yeah,
like so
but
it's
it's
just
smart,
literally a
yeah.
couple words, just like will Red Bull lose? And the title was why Red Bull won't win every race or something. So the people are
Yeah,
thinking he's gotta win every race. That's what's in the mind. Like you're trying to think
right,
about the target audience, that's in the mind of them. And then you're
right.
using the words. We put his face on the left. Like it
Yeah,
was very blown up, because you only have so many, your phone is tiny, so like
right. Yeah,
him and words. And in the background, there's like a blue background. Like that's it. It was literally words, the thing
yeah,
to catch attention. You're just trying to catch attention, really. That's all. Or telling a story. I saw one where it was, how did Red Bull get a car in Formula One? It was literally, it showed a little Red Bull can over here, the bigger Red Bull can that people always buy. I don't know. I don't try. And then it
yeah,
showed the car. And you
yeah.
start like, how? It just showed like from can to car. And I'm like, oh man, that was interesting. Like millions
Yeah,
of
because you're
millions.
like you're kind of representing visually in like the
Yeah.
simplest way possible.
Simple. Yeah.
When you
Very
think about
simple.
it, like emojis do that in other spaces, right? Like
Yeah.
sometimes on Twitter, they'll convey something or
That's
whatever
yeah.
because they were trying to save characters,
Right.
right? So they
Right.
were like,
Yep.
let me use this to like represent that
Yeah.
because it's just easier for me. And I feel like we do that a lot in a lot of spaces because it's just what our brain gravitates towards
Yeah.
really quickly instead of
Picture.
necessarily reading words.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, like, really simple, really so punchy on the thumbnail, but the titles themselves. So I know sometimes people want to be clever with their titles, but sometimes they're too long or they're too nuanced,
Yeah.
right? I know I'm probably one of those people that does that sometimes. What is good for a title? What is a hook title versus just like a blog post
Okay.
title?
This is a good one. So, same video we're talking about earlier. Because this is where like I'm like, okay, let's focus on. He did like was this? They're going to Canada or something this week. I think they're going to Canada. Where's that
Yeah,
next
I
week?
think and that I'm not sure. I know I had watched the Monaco one was the last one I saw.
Okay, so I think they're going to Canada. But so instead of just saying, he did like a preview. He's doing like a preview, his prediction. So like we could just say my preview predictions 2023 or something. So at the beginning, no one knows you. So like just saying Jeff Parker's preview prediction with 20 subscribers, the reality is no one going to click into that compared to someone else.
But if they don't know you yet, they're not going to necessarily click on that because it's like, I don't know you that well. I don't know you that well. I don't care if you're like one of the top people in the world. If I don't know you, then yeah.
It takes, I mean, think like, I don't know where first communication was, but maybe I followed you and didn't look at your profile for 2 months. I'm not, it's not, it's, but then over time you build the connection. It's not like I'm not looking at her profile. It's just you follow somebody and then over time.
Yeah, you follow someone or someone suggests it to you in your For You feed. You don't even get to their profile for a little while because you just end up following them off of like a tweet or something. And then, over time you end up going, oh, I wanted to go back to that tweet, or I commented on that. Now I saw something. Okay, now I'm going to look at the profile. It's just a different journey. Yeah, for everyone.
It's interesting. So we can go to the race preview again. No one's gone to home, so I'm like, we're not doing that. That's why we did the videos about how Red Bull won't lose. So we wrote like how Red Bull won't win every game or something like that. Then we wrote like semicolon Canada 2023 Formula 1 GP preview or something. So he's still talking about it, but they're coming in for that. They're coming in not
so
for
you're
like
putting kind of like a statement.
Yeah.
And then you're putting after it like the general, probably what you're talking about in the video, but then that's like the punchy pull out.
That's the thing they're gonna get, right? The Max Verstappen, are they gonna win every game or something? And then you can still explain because they're already into it now. Like they're not gonna watch 100%, but at least they're into it now. You can start talking about your own opinion of it. So I think that's better. And you try different ways. We'll try just the plain way, like how to lose weight or versus how to lose 13 pounds in 7 days. I've made up. Right? But like it's like the hook on Twitter.
Right. Or like
it's real.
Cutting out like something with like specifically about sugar or something. You know what I mean? Like but then you're talking about other stuff too, but it's like you have like something punchy from there that's maybe a little bit like are carbs really that bad? Like I don't know, whatever. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're pulling them in because you're like, oh.
On Twitter, you got a lot of YouTubers want views. Obviously, that's it's how the game works on this.
Yeah.
So you have to like how to get 10 times more views, and or I don't know. You almost have to say that, and then you can be like, oh, let's actually talk about the community tab or something. You just say,
right, okay,
let's good community tab. No one cares or something. Like no, I mean, because they're focused on the views. I mean, some might care, but you have to then. This will get you more views, and then you talk to the community tab or something.
Right. Okay. So like, for example, this is just like from a personal space. And then I know a lot of people are putting their podcasts on there. So yes, you have a podcast title. Those are usually punchy in the sense of they recap the name of, what the arc of what you're talking about, but they don't have that kind of usual hook in the beginning. Cause that would be almost kind of cheesy looking on, sometimes they do, but like on Spotify or something, you want more succinct, overarching theme, and then whoever you're maybe talking to, for example. But on YouTube, you might want to change the title a little bit, and maybe pull a little not sound bite, but like a little thought bite in the beginning to see if they'll like come in and talk, like want to hear a little bit more about that from like your guest, for example.
Yeah.
And like, let's talk about the community tab, because why do we care about the community tab? And what do you think about the community tab? Because it just came up. So want to talk about it because there's some newbies to
Yeah,
YouTube
yeah.
around here.
That was I saw that was like my biggest, like my most liked tweet was about the community tab, and then I should find it because it was like,
Oh my gosh. Well, that'll be one
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
I know you probably saw it, but I do have some resources that we put together like outside of the show notes in like a Notion document. I should look at a couple of your tweets and then like pop
yeah,
those in there. So
I
we'll
could
talk
find it.
about that. So what about the community tab? I just feel like that's highly underutilized. Like I feel like I sort of discovered it and I'm like, what am I doing? Especially when you're small, you're kind of
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay,
Is it
I
worth
don't know
it?
what I'm doing with this yet,
Yeah,
but what is the point of it and how can you leverage it?
yeah. So you can, for one, you're building, because the problem with the video is like a lot of times you have to edit it in a certain way. Sometimes you can't always just talk. You always, I mean, it's a podcast, but like if you don't have a podcast, you kind of just got to get to the point. You can't always, you're clearly the video is edited. You can't just chill and talk. So sometimes you can't always like be yourself because you have to focus on
Mhm.
retention and all this, delivering a production video or something. So you can be more normal. You can actually like talk to your audience. You can ask questions. And some of these people get like imagine if you have whatever your channel and you got subscribers and everything, and you want to make another video. So instead of just like making a video and just hoping it works, but if you had
Right.
400 people are voting on like polls or something every single day. So now you ask the question, hey, would you like content like this? So then you're doing your own market research. You're deciding if someone's gonna
Yeah.
like. You can promote things like if you had a Patreon, it wouldn't be crazy to promote something on there like once a week. Because I mean, no one else is going to see it. You might as well, you need traffic to get to it, so you got to talk about it. I think just
Right.
community, like literally just community asking questions, like on Twitter, if you just start asking questions, what's your best video you ever made? Like I'm not gaining anything from that, but that other person is like, oh, this guy cares enough to ask a question about myself. Technically, you know what I mean? Like I'm asking questions. So questions are really good. A lot of polls work really better because no one wants to answer a question. Like if you ever go to like a
Mm.
channel and there's like an actual question, some people answer some, but versus like a poll, because it's just quick yes, no, what's your favorite, whatever. It's just, so polls do really
Yeah.
good. Like always, I would almost say always do polls because they're quick. And so
Yeah.
the guy earlier was talking about Andy. I'm like, let's just make, like I say, just do it every day because it doesn't take much. Once you understand who you're talking to and whatnot, ask questions. You can talk about yourself a little bit. But polls look really, really well. Like I would just start doing polls forever. And like the first 30 days, like it takes time for YouTube to start giving this people. So the first 30 days have like zero expectations. So I think a lot of times we start and you get nothing for 4 days and then you get one vote. So you have to look at the big
Right.
picture. So the first 30 days you can't
Just
worry.
like get something up.
Yeah, just once a day, you might get 4 votes in 30 days. You know what I mean? But then the next, it starts servicing the more people as people vote on it. It shows them more and more people. So, like questions, polls, ask them questions about who's your favorite Formula One racer, because
Yeah.
they get the benefit of like you're talking to them. You know what I mean? And then your benefit is you get engagement. Maybe they click on your channel and they watch a video like that. That's the benefit you get.
And so what do you feel about going like stepping back into creating on YouTube? So let's say somebody's a bit newer, they're starting to get some more views and probably shouldn't have again that expectation right away too. What are some suggestions you have? Do you like the aspect of finding a specific topic to talk about, start editing videos around that, speaking to the camera? Like what are some ways that you can start and put things out but not necessarily just because Twitter is a little different. You can just tweet all the time and whatever. There's not really so much of an editing process. There's
Right,
not
right.
as much, like it's just sitting there waiting, in the wings, whatever. If someone were to like start a YouTube channel, they maybe have some ideas, but they're still maybe exploring a little bit. They probably have an idea of where they'd like to focus, but they're kind of trying maybe to get some feedback on that. How would you go about saying that they, approach the process?
I would say start with, if you're like, I've like decided like there's kind of like two different type of creators or YouTubers. There's like
Mhm.
the creative type who will, which is they're fine with it, but they'll spend like 5 years and they're just gonna make a random piece of content. Like they don't care about, they care about views, but they're just creating content to be creative. So like for
Right.
those people,
Okay.
it's just what are you into? Like, because you can't tell someone who's more the creative type to niche down. You need to do this, you need to do that. Because I've worked with people like that, and they're not. That's not how they work. Like they're just not
They
that
want
type
to they
of
want to
person.
they want to express
Yeah,
as opposed to
they
like
want to express
convert, right?
themselves. So I think if
Yeah.
that you still have to have who you what's the ideal? Like because obviously there's some idea of the video. And I'd say look at other channels just to see like what they're doing. That way you can still at least you're trying to still get views and you're still trying to take this
Mhm.
somewhat looking at thumbnails. That way at least you're still going the right direction. Because the
Right.
route, if you get 7 views on a video, you spent 2 hours to make, you're going to feel a certain way. You're going to feel negative.
Right. Well, and the thing is you
That's
want an
all it is.
impact regardless. So that
Yeah.
could be something that is more, and we can talk about this in a minute, like more on the entrepreneurial side. So you're taking it into that innovation space where you're going and like trying to create value, get something from it, create that impact in that way, or it's impact in the sense of like you're just putting things out there for people to just enjoy
Yeah.
and you get the feedback of someone being able to watch it. So yeah, no, you're maybe you don't have a specific offer that you're offering, but you still would love a lot of views on your video because you took the time to do it. It's
That's
not just
what,
like in
yeah.
a vacuum.
Yeah. That's why I think looking at other channels and just seeing, like I said, title, thumbnail. That way, at least you can still express yourself at least, but then you're not hardcore. I have this niche. Jeff says, don't talk about this because it's a completely wild thing from your niche. You're
Mhm.
still going the right direction. And then the other one is like the more like I've screwed around for 10 years. Let's just get to the point. Let's have this niche.
Right, more
Yeah.
like growth
Yeah.
marketing,
Yeah. The
and
really
but you're in
enter,
your
this is their thing.
space. Yeah.
Yeah. This is my niche. Tennis for beginners or something. That's all I'm
Mhm.
talking about. I'm not going to talk about nothing else. I understand I have to deliver a video for somebody. It's like the make 3 videos for your audience and 1 video for yourself is kind of the mantra that I say. It's not that the
Yeah,
3 isn't,
that makes sense.
yeah. It's not the 3 isn't not for you, but you know you're very specifically making this video because someone has this problem or an issue or something. Then the 1 video, it's still on topic, but like the person I was talking about, he's going to do like a vlog style video. It's still on
Yeah, so maybe
topic.
a
I'm
little
like,
bit
"You
of
do
a
whatever you
different
want."
kind of edit.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
like, "Do
yeah.
whatever you want, man. I'll help you, maybe with packaging at least." So at least you're still trying to get views, but like, if you get
You get yeah, you get a little bit of a
yeah.
different angle that you can bring to the table. Um, yeah, and so there is that kind of a difference between, the ones that are putting stuff up to express, or maybe that's where they host like some of their stuff. They're like maybe putting it somewhere else, but they're just like hosting videos because YouTube's very it's great for
I mean,
hosting and
everybody's
embedding in other spots. You know what I mean? It is what it is, right? But for the people who are, okay, I want to go more into this creatorpreneur space, whether they are already creating on YouTube and then now they want to step into that next spot of, okay, I need to like be more intentional about my monetization or my audience building, whatever that might be. I know that you have been working with YouTubers that are wanting to be more into the entrepreneurship space, like getting into the business space. If you're, let's say, a video creator on YouTube, what are your suggestions of like how do you take people to that next step? How do you know what that next step is?
so a good example is I always talk about this first person I ever worked with. I think it was Rosalind, and she did a gaming channel.
Mm-hmm.
And for her, she just made it was like it's the first person I was with, so it's hard to tell her the things that would tell her to grow, right? She's doing like gameplays, and like gameplays don't always work the best because if I can watch a guide or a gameplay, I don't know, it just doesn't work that good. Let's start making guides, and then let's niche
Mm-hmm.
down, make guides. Let's do cozy gaming because at first now you're a gamer, now you're a cozy gamer. That means something to somebody.
Yeah.
So maybe started with these more guides. Her channel, I mean, I'm not. She got monetized fairly quickly. I'm like that's where like we had to change our focus from just getting 30 views a video every single video, which that's going to take you a long time, to very much like guides. What I was saying earlier, do a whole lot of guides, just niche down to this cozy gaming because it's going to mean something to somebody else, and like taking that more seriously. I remember that conversation because it was hard to like. I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to have to, like this is what she's paying for, but it's like It's hard to
Right,
say
right, but
that.
it's that conversation
Yeah.
of like,
You need to just have this
okay, this is
conversation.
because it is a thing sometimes like with your identity too, especially if it's in a space that's expressive. That's why
Yeah,
I
that's
think sometimes
yeah,
it can be tough, like because if you feel that this is also like your purpose or calling,
yeah,
right? Like your business or your creative space or whatever it is, you have to it's tough to just be like, okay, now my identity is it feels like your identity is locked in that when it's really not. It's like your product or like
yeah.
the experience that you're sharing is that. So yeah, I can definitely understand that. So how would you define cozy gaming? I think I know what it is, but for those that are like, what is a cozy game?
I mean, I guess you can't say the word cozy, but like think like Stardew. I mean, everybody started. You've heard Stardew Valley.
Yeah, yeah.
Everybody's probably
Stardew
heard
Valley,
Stardew
right?
Valley.
And then like other ones where you're is there it's mainly like you're kind of building and doing different things, but you're not necessarily like
Hack and
fighting or like
slash.
there's not necessarily like a
Yeah,
full
yeah,
purpose.
yeah. There's not really like there's not a real purpose to it, and like a lot of people like that type of stuff. I'm like, that's why we need to
Yeah.
pick because you can pick whatever niche. I'll help you with whatever niche, but we can't be a just plain. In my opinion, right? It was like you can't just be a plain gamer because then you want people to come
Yeah.
to you first. And from what I've seen, they don't come to you first; they come to the Stardew Valley, walkthrough or
Right.
something, and then they
The
stay
game
for you.
first or like a type of
Yeah,
game.
yeah, they stay for you, but they come like you can't be like, oh, I watch Mr. Beast videos because I like him as a person when when he has 7 subscribers. It's impossible.
Right.
You
Right.
had to get people to click into it and like, I kind of like Mr. Beast. I'm just gonna watch like
Yeah.
PewDiePie. I could just watch his content for him. I
Yeah.
don't care what he's doing. I'm not saying I watch all his content, but like I watch it for him, for the
Right.
person. But it took
Right.
the
It took getting to know them
yeah,
through something. It's like when you meet anybody, right? Like you get to know them because you saw them in a specific context, but
yeah,
that doesn't mean you know everything about
yeah.
them or that you would even care to know everything about them until later. And then you're like, "Oh, I would love to know about,
Now you want to, yeah,
your interest in gardening." You know what I mean?
yeah,
If
right.
you met like in something else, right? So when you were saying that so she found her focus and she was able to monetize. So monetizing on YouTube, is it typically ads? Is it a subscription or is there like Patreon content that she's sending? Is it advertisers, like other types of not just YouTube ads, but like people who want to plug something in like a specific product or gaming console,
Yeah.
something, whatever, that would be appropriate for that?
I mean, at first, because it takes 4,000 watch hours. I mean, they're changing it. But like it takes to get ads on your videos where you just make a video, you're making some money. It takes 4,000 watch hours, which is a lot, and then 1,000 subscribers, which
Yeah.
isn't that really isn't compared to the 4,000 watch hours. That's easy for the most
Yeah.
part.
Yeah.
Um, so once you start to get that, obviously the ads just start. Your content just starts making money. But she doesn't
Right.
have a page or I think it's Patreon Ko-fi or something. And those are like the people who are allowed to pay for that. Because for her, it wasn't like he wasn't really getting a whole lot of. It's like there's nothing to. I'm not selling an hour of my time or something like that. So for her, it's just
Right, right. So there's not
yeah,
like the necessarily so there's
it's
people who
gaming.
would then lead maybe into a digital product or lead into
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
consulting services, whatever. For people who are just there creating, it probably will either be like some exclusive content or maybe tips
she did
if
a
someone wants to send a gift.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know.
Son hate that was
And
her
then
game.
maybe brands, right? Like somebody if you could pitch it somewhere that you have a decent amount of people watching, if you like resonate with and you have like you're like almost an affiliate or an ambassador for something. But are those usually like the ways that early monetization be pre-ad?
Yeah, I don't know what she mean, but if you go, you can go to their profiles like 300 or 400 a month, which is at the
Yeah.
beginning. That's still it's a decent amount. Um, but then I suggested we didn't do this, but I'm like, because this is where like niching down and stuff. So like, imagine you have cozy gaming. You know someone who's going to make a cozy game. Like, there's tons of people on, Reddit or Twitter who's developing a game that is around cozy gaming. What if you could like get them on their channel? Like, they would pay you to promote your video to promote their
Mhm.
game. We didn't do that, but that
Right.
was like an idea at the time of where you could find that you got to do the work. You got to find those people. Like, hey, I'm
Yeah.
reaching from 7,000 people on average, just making up a number. Would you pay $200 for that? Just making up a number. That could be a way where you're But you can't do that unless you have the cozy gaming niche already. So that's why all this
Right.
stuff is like important. You know what I mean? You don't think
It
of it at
is.
the
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
but
So that
it
you
is.
can be known for that so that people have the
Yeah.
trust in your particular brand and yourself
Yeah.
to take the next steps. I know also for a lot of other people, and I know you tweeted about this too, like sometimes taking people into the next space. So let's say it's not like a fully formal course or digital template or whatever else. A lot of people will go into like a newsletter space or a paid newsletter. How has your experience been? What have you done? And then also, like, how would you suggest people maybe leverage that, especially as they're starting to build their reputation?
Yeah. So for myself, I have this thing called YouTube Marketing Secrets. And I at the time, I didn't know. So this is where like taking action is more important than planning it out.
Yeah.
Because it's a newsletter, but I didn't even know it's a newsletter. It was gonna be it's fun. It's gonna change the other stuff, but it's basically like a do-it-yourself coaching for what I learned from coaching clients in a podcast form, $5 a month.
Yeah.
That's essentially what it is. And then like, well, I had to deliver it to them. So like, okay, well, clearly I'm about to make a newsletter, like or an email
Yeah.
list. Didn't even know at the time. I'm just planning it. I'm making it. I'm like, oh my gosh, how do you signed up for this, but how are you going to get this? I'm trying to figure this out. That's made like more, either through the $5 a month or like that's made me more money than, I don't know if I'd have to count, but more money than like at least my second highest like product, because then
Right.
you have the intimate relationship. I know I'm trying to sell something for a gamer. It's a little different. Um, but that's worked quite well actually. Like just starting from, I don't even promote it much. I'm trying to fix the sales page. So people just kind of get on it here and there, but it's completely like paid off. So if you're if you're in the education space, um,
Yeah.
like if you're not, it's a little different. But if you're educating people, 100% start email lists. People like worry about where should you go or something. None of that stuff matters. So imagine you have 300
Right.
people in an intimate relationship with you, and then you sell them a product. Like someone, just statistically, 300 people, someone's going to have to buy your
Right.
thing
And
that
you're
you're
in a
selling.
space where you're not competing against a
Yeah,
million other people on
that's
social.
what.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote a tweet like that's called that. Well, I call it like a vacuum. Like so I say,
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
buy this thing or something. They're scrolling. There's a million other people. I can like, oh, look at this thing compared to that person versus getting an email
Right.
where I'm just talking to you.
Directly.
You open it up. As far as like the idea of like what should be about it, I mean, it can kind of go everywhere, but just what are you teaching people? Just make it, because again,
Yeah.
you're going to look at later on and you're like, oh my gosh, why did I spend 2 months trying to figure out what daily tips? I don't know, some type of, what are they trying to get? Like when YouTube is trying to get views, could you make a views
Right.
accelerator email newsletter? I don't know. You know what I mean? Something like the time that you're thinking about all this, taking action, you already got
And you
10
can
people
always,
signed
again,
up.
like
Change.
you can pivot, you can innovate, you can
Yeah.
figure out your own way to make the adjustments that you
Yeah.
need to make. And then, of course, like you should be doing that anyway, because hopefully you're getting some good feedback from people. And that feedback or the problems that they're having or just the context of the world, things change, there's new features, there's new
Yeah.
whatever. You're always going to have things that are going to force you to continue
Change.
to
Yeah.
upgrade and change and pivot and do whatever you need to do. But at least you're already out there doing the thing. The worst is if you just keep waiting around and
Yeah. Don't.
hoping that you'll figure out what it is, and then you're
That's,
waiting,
yeah.
months, years until you do something.
I think a lot of people
Yeah,
suffer from that. I'm big on like taking
it's true.
action, even if it's like,
Messy action.
yeah, like very messy. I'm like, oh my gosh, what the sales page for YouTube marketing secrets is like, that's why I don't promote it. I feel bad. Look, the sales page to me looks horrible compared to like what I've seen, like what I've made the new one, I paid someone like a copywriter, looks so much better. So I don't even tell people about it. If you're smart enough to click the profile and click the link you want to sign up, that's fine. But I don't even,
Yeah.
because I feel a certain way about that. But like it works. People are
Right.
signing
And,
up.
and the thing is, sometimes it's
They're
like,
clearly,
if it's a good product, like it'll pull in, but then sometimes it's if you just make those couple little updates or like just throw an update here and there, it might just be enough to like get a couple more people and a
yeah,
couple more. So it's all an ongoing process,
yeah, yeah,
but at
right,
least you have it up and people
yeah,
are already clicking on it. 'Cause there's a
yeah,
lot of people who wait until it's perfect
yeah,
and it's a year later because it took them that long to get the copywriting how they wanted, a picture how they want, whatever it is, the
yeah,
title how they wanted it. And no one's sitting there being like, oh my God, you changed the title. You changed the title of your, your
No
your
one,
newsletter. Oh
yeah,
my
right. You
gosh.
change it back. The people on it don't even,
They probably didn't even notice. And even if
yeah,
they did, like
they
if they
don't.
really cared about it, then honestly, you should probably like chat with them because they're pretty invested in you, good or
Oh,
bad. You know
wow.
what
Yeah.
I
They,
mean?
they reply back and you're like, oh, wow, this person. Sometimes
Yeah.
people reply back to like a email and I'm like, oh my gosh. Because they don't have to do that.
Yeah,
They're already paying for the
that's
thing.
like
So I don't, I'm like,
I
I'm
love that. I
delivering
love
it.
when
And
people
like,
reply back to a newsletter, and I feel like people don't do it enough because the thing is now it's a lot more personal. I feel like back like for brand newsletters, like you reply back and it's a no reply or whatever. But for people, usually it's like an active email and people want something back, but people are not used to necessarily replying back
yeah,
to it. But when you get one, it's like it's pretty cool.
just,
Where do you feel like is the biggest potential right now for people to start taking it seriously from your perspective as they start to consider, hey, maybe I'm a creator right now, but I really want to treat myself and treat my work more like a business? Where does that shift kind of happen? And then how do you step in and help people with that?
I think some of it's, okay, I'm going to let's just say make a video every week or something. It's like making, like for the YouTube marketing secrets, someone's paying for this. I have to like, I want to make it like where you have to deliver on this thing. Like you have to,
Yeah.
I'm going to make it. And if you miss a week, whatever, but like I'm going to make a video every week, whether it's bad or not, where I'm going to tweet. Like a lot of people, they'll start tweeting. Like I want to tweet every day or something. They don't know where they're going. That's fine. But then they stop when they don't get, recognition or likes or something, but it's like it's
Right.
continuing.
It's like you kind of have to just
Yeah.
do it knowing
Just
like you have to
yeah.
do it for like a year knowing that maybe
Nothing.
at some point you'll just hit, and maybe you won't, but like now but at least you have a
Built up
content
that,
base.
yeah, the confidence of just, because that's just, I think that's the start, is getting
Yeah.
that, um, just keep going. There's times where, yeah, maybe you need to pay somebody to buy a course because it does suck, or you think it sucks and you need to fix something or whatever. And then I think the next step is like making money, like trying to make money, because not everything
Mhm.
nothing ever works out how you planned it ever. Just nothing,
Right.
nothing. So trying to make, and if you're a gamer, try to sell. Because what happens is let's just say you're a gamer and you're not selling, you can't sell a product per se. Let's say you want to start
Right.
a Patreon, and your reality is you're going to get your fans. It's basically going to be a random person. It's going to be a fan who watches your content. You'll tell that person once. You'll mention at the end of the video, or you'll write it once in the community tab. No one will buy it or something, and they just give up.
You
You
have
have
to
to
keep
keep
sharing
going
it.
and learning and try to, and go to the other people's Patreon or something, and like look at what are they doing. Like on Twitter, the reason sometimes I say hate Twitter is because it keeps you. Someone will say do this to whatever to make money or something. And you're like, oh geez, I can't. You feel like you can't do it, or you're not good enough or something. And like 3 days
Mm,
later, you're like, yeah, maybe I should try it. And you try it, and it'll work.
yeah.
So it's like,
Right. And you're just like, why did I think that I needed to be at a different spot to do
yeah,
this? You know what I'm saying? It can work because one person buys it. It doesn't have to be, yes, this person is doing that and they have 1,000 people buying it, but you can still do the same thing and have one person buy it. And it's a success because you did it, and you can work on it or
yeah,
whatever and grow your audience. But like, I feel like people feel like they have to wait way too long before at least sharing something. And why not? I mean, obviously, if there's stuff that's audience based, you have like 3 followers and you're like, grow your audience. I mean,
yeah.
like, that's just not going to make a whole
And
lot of sense. But if you're wanting to share something that you already have like some experience in, and, like, why not just drop it? Like, and if nobody responds, then nobody responds. Maybe it takes some time, but at least you like have it
wow,
ready to go. You
yeah.
got a product ready to go. You can,
Different
bleed them
ways,
somewhere
literally. Yeah.
as opposed to just like creating to create. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the hardest part. A lot of, this is just my experience. A lot of creators or YouTubers are not, they're more creative minded versus
Mhm.
entrepreneur. Like that's like I started from the opposite, from like being an entrepreneur, making millions of mistakes. And then I turned into more of the, I guess creative, or making
Right.
podcasts or something, stuff like that. Unless people start from the opposite. So, but then to
Right.
switch over, And you're like, well, I can't sell this thing. I don't. And like, yeah, you may screw it. The first 10 times, it may not do nothing, but then the 11th time it works, but it only worked because you tried 10 times.
Right, and it's nothing personal. I
Yeah,
think
it's
that's the other
nothing.
part too with, like, the
It wasn't
creative
there.
mindset is that a lot of it there is a lot of identity, there's a lot of expression in a way, and I just it's because I have a background, in more of the creative space and also marketing in the creative space. Like, it's tough to work with straight up artists, and
Yeah.
you have to kind of create a business from that. And now that's like the thing. But at the same time, there's still the mindset of you take it very personally because it's still an expression of some sort. Even if it's
Yeah.
your business, like even if it's a digital product, it's still like an expression of some sort. So it's building that resilience of it's not personal, it's just, making sure you're connecting with somebody. It's like dating. You could be a great person and not be a good match for somebody, and
Right.
that's okay. You just gotta you gotta date a lot of people and figure out
Figure
who you're a
out
match
what's
for. You can't just date one person and then just be like, nope,
that's it. I'm not good
that
enough.
didn't work out. How do you keep that sort of consistency with yourself? Do you have any habits that you put into place? How do you show up for yourself as a creator entrepreneur to
I
make
think,
sure that you keep
yeah. I think as far as like Twitter, if we're talking like social media, I tweet once a
yeah.
day, or I don't know, it could be more times, but like I use Hype Fury. So like I planned it. It's all
Mhm.
planned out. I don't know, probably over a month now. And that way, at least like it feels like I'm staying. Sometimes I feel like I'm just staying alive. Like I just like I haven't missed a day for like I don't know 400 days. I'm not losing that. I'm not losing that.
Yeah.
400 and some odd days. Um, and as far as like selling stuff, it goes back and forth because there's what I've learned is like you can't always be in like the selling mode because you sometimes
Hmm.
you have to like fix your landing page or you have too many like a client that takes a lot of time and you have
Yeah.
to focus on them and you can't that's why it's like sometimes you're just trying to stay alive. You can't always be sell because there's so many background
Yeah,
things,
and you're it's kind of
nothing selling.
seasonal in a way too. I mean,
Yeah,
not seasons like literal seasons, but like I just feel like creation and entrepreneurship is very seasonal and like in your own process, in your own creative
yeah, your
process too.
own.
There's gonna be times where you're like wanting to share a lot more, communicate more.
Yeah, it can be hard.
Yeah.
It can be trying to stay alive and keep. Well, I think you said the seasons. I think that makes a lot of sense because there's definitely times where I have like a Notion document of just filled with like information, like Rosalind. I'm like, why don't I make a case study that will help? I haven't. And I'm like, this is crazy. Why don't I'll even pay her to do all the work or something. Like I'm to the point where like I know it's gonna work. It's like pay
Right.
her to make the because she has information. Pay her to make the case study as far as like if you want to grow a YouTube channel, this is what I've seen with her. Or if you want to grow a gaming
Right.
channel, very specific. And then they get information for free. They get on an email list. Percentage might buy some product. Percentage might be coaching with me. Like, but you can't do that if you're tweeting 3 times a day, or if you're focused on
Hmm.
something else. That's where you may have to be like one tweet a day. Hopefully, like tomorrow, I hopefully no one will DM me because I'm not going to deal with it tomorrow because I'm focusing on stuff like that. Where like you can't
Yeah.
you're in the background doing the
Yeah.
building or something. Like, it's such
Yeah.
a good, like, smart way to think about it.
It's really just about your process
Yeah.
and just going into I know that this is something that I ask on every podcast and there's really like no definition for it. Everyday innovation is just literally changing over time, evolving, growing, right? And everyday innovation is that kind of showing up for it. But I want to see like how does everyday innovation show up for you in your life or your clients' life? Like how would you kind of define it for yourself? There's no right answer.
Yeah.
It's just I like to see how people's brains work because it's pretty cool.
I think,
It's like defining a creator, right? I mean, or
yeah,
defining
that's not,
personal brand. I
that's
mean, there's a
impossible.
bajillion ways to
Right.
define it depending on who you are.
Uh, I think so. I thought about this question and I don't know the right answer. So I picked taking action more than like, I think that's the biggest thing is like taking the action. I have this quote, which I mean, in my mind, it's a quote less thinking, more doing. I think we spend too much time.
That's
Like the only thing, like Elon Musk, I don't really like the guy, but like the crazy thing is like he will take an idea and like, boom, we're doing this on Twitter. Boom, we're doing it. I
yeah.
don't care if you like it and if it's trash and muck. whatever. But then you could find out,
Yeah.
you could build a whole business, find out this concept works, make Twitter money in 1 month, or you could spend a year figuring this out, like starting the email list when you have no idea what you're doing. You have no, you're sitting here.
Yeah, getting on YouTube and starting to do your thing, and looking at the thumbnails and saying, "Oops, I'm gonna do that one better next time because this didn't work out." Or I'm gonna do another poll, or that didn't work, but this works. Or oops, that did really great, and I have no idea what I did. Let me figure that out.
Right.
Yeah, it really is about taking the action. Well, now that you've said polls, maybe your if you have a question that you want, I also, that's the other last sort of closing thing is there something that you want to like throw back to the audience? Maybe we should make yours a poll. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
There any, or if you have a regular question, that's totally
think the
fine.
only thing I thought about earlier was why do you want to be a creator? That's all I could think about.
Oh, that's actually, that's a really good question. You feel like that would be such a simple thing, but I don't see it asked very often. Yeah. I feel like I see, what kind of creator do you want to be? Or do you think you're a creator? Because I think some people don't think that they are, but they kind of are, or they can be very easily. But the why behind it, is interesting, because there's a lot of motivations for that. And that kind of speaks back to what you were saying about like the types of, people who are creating content online too, because sometimes it is just expression, but it still doesn't. You can sell strategy with expression, Yeah,
right. That's a good one.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I love that. Well, I have loved our conversation. I don't want to keep you too much longer. We'll have some special stuff in the Notion doc for you. But where is the best place for people to find you right now?
Twitter.
Twitter. Okay, cool. And of course, I'll be linking that.
Twitter.
So Twitter, and yes, check out, I think it's in your link in bio, your email newsletter. I'll link that as well. And thank you so much. And are you accepting clients right now, or are you busy?
50-50.
A lot of times 50-50. Look, if you catch them on a good day, if you got a good pitch firm,
the right clients came the way, you can't say no to money. I'd say that's usually what happens.
Get in on the newsletter first, start applying some of his knowledge, and then
that's how my last client
can ask some more specific questions. We'll see. You have to work. You gotta work up the the chain there so that you can get your stuff going, and then Jeff can help you. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. And thank you for being on the podcast.